About 1 year ago, we were looking at the life of Mother Kulangana, and we wanted to do a book in the 50th anniversary. And you know, she was famous for making sweets. So we thought we'd do a book on Mother Kulangana and sweets. But for many months, Krystyna would interview Mother Kulangana. And the whole book changed because it was all about her life, as well as sweets. So we actually videoed all of those sessions, and many hours of videoing that we did. And Krystyna had put together many notes from her life, and that book is still to be released. So we'll be having that book very shortly. Probably sometime next year we'll put that book together. But during that time, Krystyna had made many notes, and today it serves us really as an introduction. It serves as an introduction today about her life, what she did. We're going to go all the way through till 8 o'clock. And I know many devotees want to speak. So there will be a clipboard, and I know many of you want to speak. We'll try and fit in as many as we can. This is not the first gathering that we'll have. I'm sure we'll need many more, because so many devotees will want to speak, and I'm not sure whether we'll fit everyone in. But we'll try as much as possible today to fit in all the senior Vaishnavas. I know Bhaktivedanta will be with us later on. So along with the senior devotees, we'll also have the devotees that have been looking after, they've been caring directly for her over a long period of time as well. So first and foremost, I want to hand over to Krystyna, who will just give us something from that period over the many weeks that he interviewed her. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Mother Kulangana ki jai. There are some devotees that we know all our lives, and for me, Mother Kulangana was one of those devotees. I became a devotee when I was 17, early on in my life, and Mother Kulangana was already here. And I've known her all my life. I saw her every day or every week. And although I'm very saddened by her departure, I'm very hopeful and confident, because her consciousness was wonderfully dedicated to Srila Prabhupada and to Krishna. But Mother Kulangana had a good portion of her life had already passed before she came to Krishna consciousness, this life. And sometimes we can indicate from a person's childhood or the life that they led before they became a devotee some of their preferences and what they took part in as devotees. So Kulangana lived through the most exciting part of European history. She was born in a turbulent time, tempestuous time, and then she lived through one of the most exciting periods of Krishna consciousness up until today. Perhaps I can just read from her short biography. Is that all right? Yes. We asked her these questions because she was very humble and she wouldn't really say anything about it, but it's quite an interesting life. And then if I speak for a few minutes, then everybody else will speak later on. So Mother Kulangana was from Poland, as you know, and at the end of the First World War, Poland became an independent country. The borders of the country had moved this way and that way. It had been dominated by different kingdoms. But by 1931, the Germans on the other side of the border were thinking that they wanted to take back the part of Poland that they lost in the First World War. And there were 740,000 Germans living in Poland. And so it would have been easy for them to sort of just move over the border and declare that a new part of Germany. It was tantalizingly close. So Mother Kulangana was born into this highly charged atmosphere in 1932, and she was born as Krystyna Zakolska. Born in May in Warsaw, which was the capital of Poland. Her father, Jerzy Zakolski, was originally from Moscow, and her mother was from Amsterdam. And he had grown up in what you might call an aristocratic family, so he was in and out of the Kremlin. He knew all the big names in pre-revolutionary Moscow. And there are photographs of Mother Kulangana's father with carriages, servants, very fine clothing, and pictures of him at the Kremlin. But unfortunately that came to an end in 1917, and he and his wife had to run. And they ran to Poland. But he had a lot of contacts, especially with the political people. And in those days, before the Second World War, before the First World War, where Europe was divided up very sharply with animosity between the different countries, it was easy to go from one high-class aristocratic setting to another, so people used to intermarry, and so we had a lot of mixing of the different families. So in Poland, he had connections, and he'd redeveloped friendships, and he was placed as a gardener, not exactly a gardener, but the head of the gardening department of the city of Warsaw. So Mother Kulangana's father had many, many employees, and they would grow all the linden trees, which are now still growing throughout the city of Poland, the city of Warsaw, and as well as keeping the city's parks and gardens filled with fresh flowers. Now, when Mother Kulangana was telling me all this, we Googled the place where she said she lived. That place at number 1, Wenidal, is still there on Google Maps, you can see it. And the fort that she said was in the garden is still there. And this was a citadel where the armies, the pre-First World War armies, were based. By the time that she was there were still thousands of soldiers based there. And that has very much got a lot to do, because if you can imagine, hundreds of soldiers in your garden. She lived in a little house in that garden. But the garden was 88 acres, and with an imposing red brick circular fort in the middle called Fort Legional. So she was born. First of all, her brother was born, Wojciech, and then in 1932, Krystyna, Mother Kulangana, was born. And so they had maids and they had servants. So she didn't come from a poor family, but a very well-established family. And between them, they kept Warsaw very beautiful. Now this is a point of tension, because her father and the family kept Warsaw very beautiful. It was an old city, but something was about to happen that would shatter that beauty forever. But she says here, as well as growing plants, my father also kept cows, 5 cows, which he had bought himself. They lived on the park, so they had plenty of fresh grass to eat, but they were also fed with white beetroots. It made their milk very rich and tasty, and many people used to come and buy the milk from my father. My favorite cow was a black and white one called Buba. Krystyna's father grew many vegetables, so her home was always filled with fresh produce. Potatoes, and she lists all the vegetables that she had. As I told her, Mother, don't leave out any details, please. We want all the details. Potatoes, carrots, rhubarb, cabbage, strawberries, raspberries, tomatoes, were all homegrown and plentiful. We had a cook that lived with us in the house, and I used to like naleśniki, pancakes with cheese, kruski smaken, gosposha, and maszlamka. We didn't quite get translations yet for those. Made with butter from our cows. We had pączki, donuts with jam, and cream from the cows that was just like foam. So this was to be a recurring theme in her life, the cows. The family also had a pet black poodle named Kakusha, and Krystyna took him for walks and played with the other pets they had from time to time. I had many toys when I was young, explains Kulangana. I had a wooden bird that sang when I pulled the handle, and I had stilts that I walked around on, and many dolls which I cherished. We always had guests that came to visit us, and one time I was given an exotic doll with a colourful Eastern outfit. Remember that part? When she was younger, she had a tricycle, and when old enough, a bicycle. So the river's only a few minutes from the house, so she used to ride there on her bike. But her parents told her, do not cross the bridge to the other side of Warsaw. Okay, stay on your own side. So what happened then was that Britain renewed its pledge with Poland to protect Poland if the Germans attacked Poland. So this is a crucial thing because Russia wanted a piece of Poland, the Germans wanted a piece of Poland, and as things go, this had been boiling for 8 years. So on Thursday, August the 24th, 1939, Britain renewed that pledge. But they knew what was coming in Warsaw. All around Warsaw, anti-aircraft sites had been established, and one on top of the fort near her home. Civilians were digging trenches and erecting barricades, and posters announced an imminent draft. The day before, foreign ministers of Germany and Russia, Ribbentrop and Molotov, had signed a non-aggression pact. They would not fight each other, the agreement said, but the secret clauses in the pact divided up Poland between the two aggressors. There's just a new Hollywood movie being made. It's called The Zookeeper's Wife. It's on release now. And it's about that period in Warsaw. And it tells the story of people that lived, as Kulangana did, through that period in the war. And it's a very devastating, I didn't see it, but it's a very devastating thing. Adolf Hitler's forces crossed into Poland on September the 1st. Within minutes, the sky above Warsaw, this is when she was 8 years old, this is what she sees in the sky. It was humming with the sound of dozens of airplanes. Hitler's order was for the army and air force to reduce the country quickly to subservience without any chance of retaliation. I was 7 years old when Germany invaded, Kulangana recalls. They were shooting machine guns from their planes and dive bombing. There was smoke all over the city and buildings were burning. My father said that we must go to my auntie's farm in the countryside, about 4 hours from Warsaw. On the way it was very dangerous because bombs were falling as we were driving. So while she's at the farm, she has the first encounter with the Gestapo, who burst into the barn in which she and her parents and others are hiding. The men are all taken outside, but they're not killed. They're sent back to the city. She says, we had to go back to the city on a horse-drawn wagon at night, and it was cold and took a very long time. So then what happened was that Hitler put his personal lawyer, Hans Frank, in charge of the city of Warsaw. And his first task was to remove all people of influence, such as teachers, priests, landowners, politicians, lawyers, and artists. And then he began to rearrange masses of the population. So over the next 5 years, 860,000 Polish people, many of them farmers, would be uprooted and resettled. And 75,000 Germans would take over their farmland and houses. And 1,300,000 Polish people would be put on trains and shipped to Germany as forced labor. Now this would be just a historical fact, were it not for the fact that our Mother Kulangana lived through this period. She was very near the Jewish quarter, and all the fifth of the population of Jews in the world was in Poland. They were all herded together and placed in a compound, a small city within a city, which is just a few streets away from Mother Kulangana's house. So what happened? They were declared to be Untermenschen, or less than human, and they began shipping them off to various camps. Now, it wasn't just the Jews that they were after these high-class Polish people. Mother Kulangana's father was a high-class Polish person, and a person of some influence with the local government. So his name was on the roll, and he was also taken. But before that happened, Kulangana says, if people escaped this Jewish enclave, they were killed. She says, once on the street I saw a Jewish man running from the Gestapo. He ran very fast down the street, away from them. They were shooting at him, but none of the bullets were hitting him. But when he got right to the end of the street, just before he turned the corner, one bullet hit him and he fell down and died right in the street. I had never seen anyone die before. I was 8 years old. So they were kept in this place. Sometimes children would be starving, and Mother Kulangana had a piano teacher, and the piano teacher was on the other side of the Jewish ghetto, so she had to go on the tram, and she saw people, mainly starving children, and that, she said, that haunted her for the rest of her life. So she saw the sight. So one day she saw a young child in the park that was looked after by her father. He had somehow escaped and was wandering around bewildered. He was just a little boy, she says, and looked so lost and alone. He was very thin and hungry, so I gave him something to eat and drink. Now in that time, if you fed a Jewish child, God forbid, if you took them in, you and your family would be shot. So for her to do this was a revolutionary act. So she says, one time I was on the top deck of a tram, and down on the street a Polish man had shot a German soldier. All the traffic on the street had to stop, and no one was allowed to walk anywhere. The street was closed. Anyone close to where the soldier had died was made to stand against a wall. The soldiers just shot them all. I was on the tram watching. They all died. At the end, one soldier turned around and saw that I was watching, so he looked up and pointed his gun at me, and I had to go down on the floor to hide. So we go through. She has an incident with the local Catholic Church where they want to give her her first communion, and her father says no, she will decide for herself her own religion when she grows up. Okay. Then the Germans came for milk and vegetables from her father, and they stole her poodle, Kakusha. We're going back through the childhood. Were you all right, Judy? Okay. So the family then received orders from the Gestapo to report at one place in the city, some distance from where they were living. Kulangana tells the story. We were forced to walk for 2 hours to reach Wola, a suburb of Warsaw with a train station. We brought with us one young cow on a rope. She was walking alongside us. Finally, we reached a church. Outside there were soldiers with guns. We were told to go in the main door. Inside there were perhaps 200 others, many children. As soon as the mothers with babies saw that we had a cow in the church, some of them came to us and asked if they could have some milk for their babies. They had been walking all day and the children were hungry. So in the church, we milked the cow and gave them some milk. There was nothing to eat in the church. Everybody had to give their names to the Gestapo that were there sitting at a table, and the men wrote all the details down. When it came to our family, the Germans looked at the cow and just said, "Oh, you are keeping cows. We have no room for your cow." Anyway, you have to give your milk to the German army now. Just get out. And so we left the church. Now later on she understood that all the 200 people that were gathered in the church, it was right next to the train station for a particular reason. They were put on the train and they were sent to a village in southern Poland, which was called Auschwitz, and the Germans renamed it Auschwitz. They had a barracks there, and all of them perished. So then news started to arrive in 1941 of what was happening in different parts of Poland, and everybody wanted to leave. And there was street fighting, and in 1944, and then Adolf Hitler gave the message. He said, Warsaw has to be pacified, razed to the ground. So then Heinrich Himmler transmitted the order, the city must completely disappear from the earth and serve only as a transport station for the Wehrmacht. No stone can remain standing. Every building must be razed to its foundation. The whole city flattened. So Kulangana has been saved from the Gestapo on the border. She's been saved from the bombs. She's been saved from being transported to a camp. And now she wants to, how old is she now? 44, 32, she's 12. So then her father wants to take. Now her mother, they didn't know where her mother was because she was somewhere else in the city. And they'd moved by that time. And she went to the dentist. So there was an explosion. She was dazed. And she went and she took shelter with someone. And there was no water. It took her 7 months to find her way back to the house, to the family home. By that time, the family home was destroyed, and the family had gone. So the Russians had come in from the east, the Germans had come in from the west, and because of his childhood in Moscow, Jerzy, the father, Mother Kulangana's father, he spoke Russian, so he moved that way towards Russia. So they packed provisions for his family onto a wagon and they began the long walk towards the border with what's now Ukraine. It lasted 3 weeks. It was a walk of 3 weeks with hardly any food. Everywhere they went, the Gestapo stopped them and they had to present their papers and explain each time how they'd been given permission to move because they were supplying milk to the German army. And here's the cow to prove it. So the journey took them to Bielorussia, a dark primeval forest filled with wild animals, and everywhere they went there was the Polish resistance. So the Germans thought they were with the resistance thought they were with the Germans, and at one point amongst the thick trees there was a network of fighters. So on the way out of the forest the Germans met them. These people were trying to get people out of the prison camps that they knew were happening. So when Kulangana's family emerged from the deepest part of the forest, the soldiers immediately arrested them all for being part of the resistance. Despite their protests, and although the soldiers found no weapons on them, they were told to walk away from the road and to line up amongst the trees so they could say their prayers and get ready to be shot. The father protested that his children were innocent, but to no avail. The soldiers didn't believe them. Resistance fighters also dressed in ordinary clothes like them and were also known to employ children in sabotage operations. So this is Kulangana when she's 12. She's got her hands up. All the family's got their hands up in the forest. 2 soldiers had already cocked their guns ready to shoot when a third came running down the road shouting that the family was not part of the resistance but actually gardeners from Warsaw, just as the father told them. So, it's an escape, an escape, an escape, an escape. For what purpose we shall see. Life goes on. The war finishes. She's very athletic. She goes to a particular college where they focus on physical training, PE, PT as it was called. And she wants to be a physiotherapist. So eventually she becomes a physiotherapist and she's drafted. She was learning, she says, artistic dance. Okay. Now, when I knew Mother Kulangana, she was what's actually 30, 37, 38, 40, like that. She came at that time. She was learning artistic dance. So the Kulangana you might have known as the old lady in white from the cottage, we knew as a young woman. She was learning artistic dance, gymnastics, team swimming, anatomy, and she was even learning dissection. There was a prosectorium where the teachers would dissect dead bodies so they could learn anatomy. She excelled at sport, and she gained a place on the volleyball team, the national volleyball team of Poland. Can you imagine? Mother Kulangana playing volleyball, haribol. So she was playing volleyball for Poland, and she would go to different countries in Europe, and sometimes they won and sometimes they didn't, but it was exciting for her. And what happened then was that she got a drafting, and she was able to learn a little bit of yoga. Now this is the 1950s. You know, where was yoga in the 1950s? But somehow or another, Mother Kulangana made a contact in Poland, of all places, with a person who knew a little bit about Indian yoga. Okay. I think that will be very important for the rest of her life. So she was then posted to France, the coast of France, where she looked after children with scoliosis. That was her speciality. Physiotherapy for children who had scoliosis. But I won't read this all out to you. But she gained an international diploma in physiotherapy. There's a little bit here about a young man that came into her life. There was a young man, but she says everything that she had been through cast a spell on the relationship. She said, he was wonderful. And her eyes lit up when she was telling me the story. She said, he was wonderful. No one loved me more than him. He was a gentleman, responsible and caring. But I was thinking that so many people have died in the war, and I have moved so many times. I did not even know what the word permanent meant. I was thinking, how can I have a permanent relationship with this man? What was permanent anyway? So after 2 years he told me, oh, I think you don't really care for me. And that was how we parted. So then she went to France and she worked with nuns. The nuns were getting up at 3 in the morning, and sometimes I was getting up with them to go and buy flowers in the market. I'm beginning to see a trend here. I finished my driving lessons there, and I easily learned to speak French. Actually, I learned to speak French very well, almost as if I was remembering the language. So after 3 years in France, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. After 3 years in France, she was invited over the English Channel to work at Stoke Mandeville Hospital in Aylesbury. Hooray! By this time it was 1969 and she was 37. I was working with seriously injured people, many of them victims of road accidents. I believe that Stoke Mandeville Hospital is where the modern Paralympics movement was born, because they used to engage the people who were injured in athletics to help them. So it started from that place. I was very happy to be working in England and I liked the job. I remained at Stoke Mandeville for 18 months and then took up another post at a hospital in Golders Green, North London. But something else was stirring. She says she went all the time to a Roman Catholic church, and now she's living on the 5th floor of a block of flats in northwest London. She had a new job at Golders Green Hospital for 7 months. One evening when she returned home from work, she opened her door and discovered a flyer on the mat. Someone had posted an advertisement through all the letterboxes in the building. It was for, I don't know how this happened. Golders Green. Which devotees go door to door in Golders Green now. We haven't done that for 30 years, but he has a very small nucleus of devotees in now Bury Place in Bloomsbury near the British Museum, and they're going to Golders Green to put flyers through. She said that the flyer was for something called the Radha Krishna Temple down in London, and the flyer mentioned the word yoga. She decided that she would go and visit the place sometime. Some weeks later, in the centre of London for a shopping trip, she encountered the strangest sight she'd ever seen. I was completely shocked when I saw these young boys and girls singing along Oxford Street. The boys had no hair, and the girls had long dresses and flowers in their long hair. They had sticks that were burning and giving off a spicy smell, and they were handing out sweets to everyone. They were playing drums and small bells with their hands. I didn't know what the song was, but I liked it. And they all seemed so happy. They were also giving out papers saying the Radha Krishna Temple and Bhakti Yoga. I thought they must have been the same people that had come to my flat in Golders Green. So I went with them to their temple near the British Museum. And she goes, she thought it was very attractive, but then she says, I remember thinking, I'm too old for this kind of thing. Because everybody's a teenager in their 20s, she's 40. Okay. And she met devotees all with unusual names, like Janananda, Ranshaw, and Leela Shakti. They all encouraged her and told her that something called Krishna consciousness was for anyone, at any age. This is Kulangana, okay? Or Krystyna at this time. She says, when I heard about the 4 regulative principles, she said, I understood immediately I was in the right place. I knew about these rules of life from my Catholic childhood, and I knew that everything the devotees were talking about would bring me happiness and help me come closer to God. Hare Krishna.
So that's wonderful. That it's from a book that will be published, and a life of legacy and devotion. So that's a book which will be coming out with Great Moy. We will be putting that together sometime next year. Here's a message from Sri Ramswami while we're waiting. And we'll be asking Bhaktivedanta Maharaj if he wants to come and take the chair here. Dear Kulangana, my obeisances all glories to Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, what can I say? It was so wonderful to have known you as over almost 4 decades. Now that you have gone, my visits to the manor will never be the same. I have never read that sweets like sandesh were decorated in Goloka the way you had introduced at the manor. And if they are not, my suspicion is that you have drafted in to add to the pleasure of the Lord. We also do the same in New Vrajadam. And while Radhashyam's sweets taste far superior to Radha Gokulananda, they don't look as good. At the last telephone reading I did for you, I asked that since you were going to Radha Krishna, please ask them to give me some mercy. I wasn't sure that you had heard or if you responded. So now you are happily situated and being trained by eternal associates. Please, on the strength of your many Mangalati sweets at the manor, beg a few drops of mercy to me, your servant Shiva Ramswami. Another message here from Radhanath Swami. The story of your life is historical, unique within our Krishna conscious society. In your childhood in Eastern Europe, you experienced the invasion leading into World War II. As a middle-aged lady, you graciously made the decision to dedicate your whole life in Srila Prabhupada and Krishna's loving service. And you did. Since that time, through all the sunny and stormy times of this world, Kulangana Devi has offered heartfelt devotional service every day of her life. She simply loves Krishna and Krishna's devotees. She has always been a true mother, god-sister, friend and well-wisher to me. And I believe everyone whose heart she has touched feels the same. Radhanath Swami. I'm going to request Bhakti Prabhat Swami to speak, and now I'll request whatever speakers do come on, 5 minutes please. 5 minutes is what we get. Hare Krishna.
I want to share with you my experience of my first meeting with Mother Kulangana. It was in, if I'm not mistaken, it was 1996, March. At that moment I was brahmachari in Radhadesh, and my spiritual master, my Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Maharaj, had been making this series, Abhay Charan, video series about the life of Srila Prabhupada. And I've been asked to come to London, to the Bhaktivedanta manor, to collect videotapes which were made here by one devotee. So I was driving, at that time I was driving a BMW, I was driving from Radhadesh to Belgium, to the boats, and then to the highway. And I arrived here at the Bhaktivedanta manor. I remember the entrance was still at the other side. They had plans to make the road, and the preparations were already there. That I arrived here to pick up these videotapes, but they were not ready. And the devotee said, tomorrow they will be ready. So that took 3 weeks. So I was here, and I needed some service while I was here. So I've been asked to help in the kitchen, and there were already these marriages going on here. And in the afternoon I was washing the pots, and in the morning I was assisting Mother Kulangana. And interesting is that she showed me her hands and said, these hands, she told me, have done already 25 years of service for Sri Radha Guru Kulananda. And you could see her hands were hands which were being used. And she personally taught me how to make fillings for samosas, and then how to make samosas. She trained me in making samosas, and I made dozens of samosas with her. That later on I made so many samosas, and I taught others how to make samosas. But she was teaching me this with so much love and affection. You could see that her cooking was not ordinary cooking. It was done with devotion and very precise, that how she instructed me how to make these samosas, I never forget. And so we were together for 3 weeks. At that time, that's 21 years ago, I was not yet initiated. It was just before my initiation. My name was Bhaktivedanta. Then finally after 3 weeks, I went back with the tapes. Yes. But I must say, Mother Kulangana was my first contact with the Bhaktivedanta manor. And the way she cooked and the way she explained to me she was very affectionate. And when you come at a place and the first devotee you meet and you associate with, that's very important for an impression for the whole place. And therefore, since that time, every time later I came to the Bhaktivedanta manor, I felt the Bhaktivedanta manor is my home, just because of that affection of Mother Kulangana. And then 2 years ago, after I took sannyas, I went to Mother Kulangana and I asked her, do you remember me 20 years ago, Bhaktivedanta? And she remembered me. That's very sweet. Mother Kulangana ki. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. I'll request Vishwa Devi and Saramangal if they can both come and take the seats. And whilst they're coming, here is something from Giriraj Swami. My dear Mother Kulangana, Srila Prabhupada said that when a Vaishnava departs, we feel simultaneously happy and sad. Happy because the Vaishnava has gone to serve Krishna, and sad because we will miss the Vaishnava association. And that is how I feel now. Mother Kulangana, you were many things to many people. You were a mother, friend, support, mentor, guide, coach, cheerleader, a servant. We will miss your personal presence in our lives here. But we're happy that you will be serving Srila Prabhupada and his masters in an even better way and in an even better place. Tamal Krishna Goswami used to say, Krishna will bring Mother Kulangana back to Godhead just so he can have her sweets. And there you will begin again boiling milk and preparing delicacies to offer to their lordships. Wherever you are, please think of us who are serving here in your separation. Please cast your merciful glance upon us, and please appeal to Srila Prabhupada and his lords to mold us and to bring us to them. And to you, so again we can all engage happily in their service together. Your servant, Giriraj Swami. Quick notice here. We need 5 or 6 devotees in 15 minutes to help in the big kitchen to roll puris for Mother Kulangana and the feast which we're serving at 8 o'clock. So in about 15 minutes. I want to take this opportunity to thank the tremendous team that was here serving Mother Kulangana in her last days, you know. And Radhakanta Prabhu was here. There he is. Everybody knows Radhakanta, yes? Radhakanta was the disciple, the son, everything from Mother Kulangana, and he was heading up that team. So let's show appreciation for that. There was never ever a decision that Radhakanta made that he would not consult Mother Kulangana about. And you know, if she said, this is what you do, that's what he did. Whether it was running the Bhakti Center, whether it was taking initiation, whether it was shaving up, whatever it was, he would always be listening to her. Now along with him, of course, there was a large team. I'd like to thank the 3 ladies that were with her 24 hours. For nearly 5 to 6 weeks, you know, and they tremendously looked after her, and so many other ladies that were there. And equally there was a team of 4 doctors, headed up Sundarananda, Karuna Ras, Hari Krishna, Devi Dasi Kundari. So there was a huge team that were actually looking after her for nearly 6 weeks, 24 hours a day. And of course, the countless other devotees that were there, present throughout. And you know, it's unheard of that you can pass away on the Ashtami day. The Ashtami began at 3:15 on that day, the day before Janmashtami. So, and she passed away at 6:45. She passed away on Janmashtami, as we'd say. And you know, how do you get 4 doctors before midnight here to sign all sorts of certificates? They came. How do you next morning go at 8:30 to the registry office to register everything else? And how do you get to the crematorium before midday to show all the paperwork so that by 3 o'clock you can have the cremation? And how do you do all of that on the largest festival day of the year here at Bhaktivedanta manor when we can't move anything? But you know, the impossible was done by Mother Kulangana. All of that happened. Every single bit of it happened. So really, I'd like to thank the entire team that was there, making sure that every bit of it happened. So let's show our appreciation for that magic thing. Amazing. We're going to hear from the 2 ladies. As I said, we'll try and keep it brief, and then we're going to have a 15-minute video. And I'd like to thank Bhaktivedanta Prabhu. Whilst he was the temple manager here, he interviewed her about many things. Foresight, he said, one day we will need to show this to everyone. And as we always say, all the Prabhupada disciples, you should record all your memories of Prabhupada, because in the future, you know, these are the legacies that will last. So we've got 2 showings of that. So after that, we're going to have that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnu Padaya Kshatistam Shrimati Bhaktivedanta manor. Namaste Saraswati Devi Guru Pachani Tingishis Asketya Satarimi. So we have 5 minutes, so I'll try to keep it brief. I thought I'll speak of Mother Kulangana in context of Srila Prabhupada's role in service, personal service and practical service in his quarters, but that's my service here. And I think she would like that. She was so fiercely protective of Srila Prabhupada's room, service, and whatever was his clothes and everything. So she was always come and ask, you know, at every festival whether all his clothes, and she wanted to see them. Yes, and she didn't like bright orange. She just wanted to see everything. As I said, she got into every detail, which was wonderful because I'm a person of detail as well. And whenever there was a new festival or some new cloth that we did the backdrop and everything, she would want to come and see. And then when we got furniture for Srila Prabhupada's room bed cover, she would painstakingly climb up the stairs and insisted on coming and seeing it all. And she used to she was very, obviously very finicky, very particular, and very, so she used to take all the cloths with it inside out, and was always so encouraging and admiring, and so very humbly appreciative of it all, and thanking us all the time. Thank you. She is so attached to Srila Prabhupada, and so loyal to Srila Prabhupada. One thing that when Kripa Moya was reading about her childhood, how it showed us, I just wanted to mention, how Krishna works in such amazing ways, that she grew up with cows, sweets, milk products, and Krishna engaged her later on in life for the supreme service to Krishna, to engage that ability, that taste, that affinity for, that somehow, and Krishna took her and have her make sweet for him, and now she can make sweet for all eternity. So I'm so very grateful to my dear God sister that always was inspiring, very, very fixed up, and always enthusiastic about anything to do with service of the deities and for Srila Prabhupada. So, all glories to Mother Kulangana, may we eternally be with her. Hare Krishna.
That team, I think ended up that team Shruti Dharma Prabhu that you were talking about. First time I saw Kulangana Prabhu, excuse me, we've been saying that for so long, and we always call each other. I can hear her voice going, "Prabhu!" Yeah, but she's a person. I mean, she's an icon, but she's a person. And I guess because we've all known each other a long time, we have some kind of private jokes and chats that was sometimes a bit irreverent together about things. But that's part of the relationship, isn't it? Familiarity doesn't always breed contempt. Sometimes it brings you closer. And sometimes before, when we were had different service, or was here a lot in the mornings, and Prabhupada's rooms, and coming in japa, and she sometimes come up to me, and something as Swami was thinking, she come up in a serious way, and I was thinking that she was going to say, "I'm chanting good rounds or something today." And she said, "Where did you get that? Sorry." So she was out of the box, she wasn't just, it wasn't just like she was a real personality, and quite cheeky, and so I thought I'd wear my favourite sorry for her today. So the first time I saw her, I think I was doing arti for Lanishwara, and turned around and saw this lady, this attractive lady, sitting very, very straight, and she had a red outfit on. I can't remember exactly what it was. Do you remember her very face? She was very, I think she was sitting very straight. I was the kind of person who wasn't really into yoga, but she looked like she was a yogi. She was sitting very straight. And she was quite an attractive person. A lot of devotees like preaching to her. I don't know about the flyer, but we did used to go, there was something started doing Krishna book around that area in North London, in Golders Green and the back of Hampstead. We've just got those big Krishna books, the first ones, the silver ones. And if you sold one, you got the monarch plate. That's how rare it was to sell one. So maybe people were putting flyers in Golders Green. I remember Dhananjaya got the first Mahaplay. Anyway, she was quite a character. I often used to go to see her and just talk privately, and she was always very encouraging about preaching. I think maybe I was hoping that Karmaduk would have come today because she was the Sankirtan, ladies Sankirtan leader in London in those historic days where Berry Place was very short of money, and the women were going out and their parties, top of the world, they were talking of top of the world. You were on that party, weren't you? Karmaduk's party, Guru, and Radha Shakti. So I remember seeing Kulangana. She was doing, for a while, to raise some Lakshmi for the temple. They were making announcements on the train. I remember going in the carriage, and I heard she's standing at the back of the carriage. Everybody, I don't know if they're going to work, what time of day it was. She's standing at the back of the carriage and she goes, "Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen," and everyone turns around, and she actually had the courage. I know some other ladies did it, but I think it. Did you ever do it? You do it, Radha Shakti. They made these announcements and saying they're raising money for our, welfare work or whatever we're doing. And yes, she made this very bold announcement on the train. She was a brilliant Sankirtan devotee. I don't know if so many people know about that part of her life. It should certainly be in that book. But she was really, really gutsy. And also, I thought she gave so much protection to the ladies in the ashram. And I think it's really, really important because I know at one time, because there's going to be a lot of construction going on here, there was an idea that maybe the ladies should move into the village. And I think it may be difficult for people who haven't lived in the Brahmacharini ashram to understand what it means. Like you've left your family, who knows what prospect you've got of getting married ever, and here you are, surrendered your life, and you're living in the Dham. And that's, so she really, really was very protective to the girls, because even the thought of going across the street was like a very, very challenging idea, because this is the holy Dham where Radhika Kulnanda and Sitaram Lakshmana Nitai is staying. So, they're still there. And I know she gave them a lot of shelter and pushed for it. She could take a challenge, Kulangana, in the nicest possible way, because her intention was pure. She wasn't just in a bad mood. She was looking after those girls, and I know they'll treasure it forever. And this last month or so, must have really impacted upon you. You've seen such a fixed-up devotee, completely centered on remembering the holy name and completely surrendering. So that will last you forever, and I pray that protection will always be there for you. And it's not easy. I really respect and admire the service you did. One more thing very quickly, because everyone was talking about Kulangana making Mongolati sweets in the spiritual world, and I was thinking, I felt a bit uncomfortable about it. I thought, we know she's getting Prabhupada's mercy, and then somehow Janavi sent me a voice recording. I don't know if anyone's heard it. I think it was Bhaktivedanta Maharaj talking to Kulangana Prabhu. And he was asking her, what are you thinking of, Kulangana? Are you remembering the cowherd boys or the gopis? And then she said in this beautiful voice, I'm not going to imitate it, she said, I'm thinking of Lord Chaitanya. And then she kept saying over and over again in a very committed way that completely just really blew my mind, really. She just kept saying, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Chaitanya. And to me that defined what I knew of her service, making Mangalarti sweets. I just always think of her as Lord Chaitanya's dedicated girl.
Where once were fences, walls, thick enclosure, places hidden, darkened by remoteness, now comes your grand opening, exposure to Krishna's mirthful eyes, your sublime ingress. Your Radha, your Gokulananda, your dear Lords beckon. No need now for any further word, just the names, your Lord's sweet names, stay to reckon, as Prabhupada brings you to your cow herd. Our thanks we offer you in trays of wonder. At your fathomless devotion, we pray you will accept. While Krishna's hungry friends approach like soft thunder, our fumbling words trail far behind, inept. Let the rolling kirtan lift and carry you beyond all cares, where every step's a turn of graceful dance. The water nectar nourishes Braja's affairs, and trees bow down, all leelas to enhance. The demons are naught but passing rumour, rains kept to nights turn Braja lush. Indra's storms subsided, give place for humour. Peacocks show their skills, then remain hush. Now before you, in every subtle gesture, let your Radha Gokulananda show the way, where cows are lowing on the blessed pasture, and every word's a song that ends in Jai. The doors swing wide into your opened heart, there where your mind temple is set free, to greet the entire display of your bhakti art, there where real life begins, you he expects to see. With all best wishes, humble obeisances and prayers, your servant and godbrother, Krishna Kshetra Swami.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta manor Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prasadi Krishna Shunyavadi Vashtrati Vishnukarani. Mother Kulangana, you have gone to the spiritual world forever. Now who will show me the way, instruct me and encourage me? I asked you who I should turn to when you have gone, but you simply replied, try your best. I surrendered my heart and soul to you, not sentimentally, but in knowledge of your hidden glory. Mother, you are selfless, always giving advice based on what's good for me. Your focus was always on how I will make progress in Krishna consciousness, nothing else. Sometimes you chastised me, sometimes you eulogized me. Sometimes you told me your experiences so that I would learn and grow spiritually. To take care of your physical body, I used to joke, Mother, you are not following Srila Prabhupada's instructions properly. I knew you would listen to me if I said this. You would immediately become grave. But when you heard what I had to say, you would not attach much weight to my comments and continue as you wished. Mother, you are pure, always chanting and encouraging others to chant. When we would go shopping, you asked strangers, can you say Hare Krishna? Sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't. One lady refused, saying, certainly not. But when we would see the same lady every week, one day she started to say Hare Krishna. Such is the potency of having your darshan. Mother, you are kind, always thinking about the welfare of others and how a spirit soul can be benefited. Always distributing prasadam to other devotees before you take your lunch. Mother, you are straightforward. I never saw any hidden agendas in you. No ulterior motives or scheming. Mother, you serve the Lord with your body. Even when you were not on the kitchen rota, you never took a break from your service, but continued to make Radha Gokulanand's sweets spontaneously. Ever willing to fill in the gaps for devotees who are away or sick. Always motivated and enthusiastic, never complacent. Mother, you serve the Lord with your words, always preaching His glories to whoever you met, and counseling younger devotees who came to you with their abundant problems. When you heard of devotees in difficult situations, you were moved with compassion and felt their pain. Mother, you serve the Lord with your wealth, distributing all the Lakshmi you received from welfare benefits to the temple and to devotees in need. Mother, I don't deserve to be a recipient of your mercy, but I know I am. As one devotee put it, I am made of your mercy. Mother, you are tolerant. In the early days, you tolerated physical and verbal abuse from neophytes. You prayed for those neophytes to make progress. You never became inimical towards them, but treated them kindly as if they had done no wrong. Mother, you are a mystic, often responding to my thoughts before I even articulated them. You carried Srila Prabhupada's mood as well as his teachings, often disregarding peripherals when they conflict with essentials. Mother, you are humble, never pushing yourself to the front at any place or function. You are peaceful even when ignored, never demanding respect in your capacity as Srila Prabhupada's disciple. Mother, you are devoted to pure devotional service. You never accepted a penny in exchange for service. You came to the temple to give and not to get. Mother, you are patient. Knowing I felt terrible when I couldn't come to the temple, you encouraged me in your daily phone calls. Now when will I see the words Mother Kulangana calling on my mobile? Mother, you are free from material desires and therefore respected even in the society of demigods. Yet when your juniors decide to offer you their blessings, you smiled and appeared to be pleased with them. Mother, you were sometimes disrespected, yet you showed no feelings of dissatisfaction with those who disregarded you. Your life is a demonstration of amanina manadena. Mother, you never expected to be honored or desired to have anything apart from pure devotional service. When devotees honored you, you never became elated by their praises. When new devotees offered obeisances to you, you returned their obeisances, never thinking yourself to be a senior devotee. Mother, you are the person Bhagavad. You are a living representative of the qualities described in Srila Prabhupada's books. You said your life is successful because you didn't waste your time. You belong to Srila Prabhupada. You are Srila Prabhupada's disciplined disciple. In your final days, you said you realized there is no such thing as death and therefore you were not afraid to die. But your greatest fear was losing the association of devotees. Mother, you are a sadhaka, rigidly rising early and commencing your sadhana in the dead of night. One time I asked whether you were getting up so early because you could perhaps not sleep at night. You replied with a thud, "No, I have to force myself to get up. Don't think it's easy." Mother, you were merciful to me. You allowed me to serve you. I realized that this was a special privilege since you did not readily accept service from others. One time a devotee pleaded with you tearfully, but you respectfully declined his service, but allowed me to carry out the same service. Mother, you are grateful. You never took anything for granted. You lived a life full of appreciation for devotees. You expressed gratitude even for small things. When a devotee asked you to pray for him or her, you would add their name to a long list of names. That became your prayer list. You would indeed pray for them. Mother, your God sisters and God brothers who love you. Mother, to your God brothers and God sisters who love you, you are their God sister. To other devotees, you are Srila Prabhupada's disciple and a senior devotee. To those who didn't have much contact with you, but formulated an opinion nonetheless, you are a bit eccentric or perhaps even fanatical. To the irreverent juniors, you are Kulangana. To the cultured, you are Mother Kulangana. But to one and all, you are a sincere well-wisher, a disciple of His Divine Grace who never wasted the valuable time of her spiritual master. Now Srila Prabhupada has taken you back to Godhead, and I have been put back in the bin. You warned me not to do anything that would oblige you to come back and get me. Mother, when will I have your darshan again? When will I hear your voice again? And when will I go to buy bitter melon with you again? Your Radha Kanta child and disciple. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Shuddhidharma Prabhu and Trinadapi Prabhu for immediately arranging any number of Matajis from the ladies' ashram to nurse Mother Kulangana during her final days. I'd also like to thank Mother Kulangana's team of devotee doctors, Hare Krishna Mataji, Pundrik Prabhu, Sundaranand Prabhu, Karuna Rasa Prabhu, Dr. Bharat Thakrar and Dr. Divyesh Thakrar. During the course of Mother Kulangana's sickness, it wasn't unusual for WhatsApp messages to be coming through in the middle of the night. I'd also like to thank Nilamada Prabhu and Jai Taylor for facilitating the Antyeshti Sanskar or funeral at such short notice. Sundaranand Prabhu will thank Mother Kulangana's carers by name. And thank you to the Assembly of Devotees for attending the memorial today. Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda Ki Jai.
Before I came to Manor, I was wanting to say a few words and memories about Kulangana Prabhu. And I'm very humbled hearing the various presentations which we've had this afternoon. And what strikes me is Mother Kulangana's life was a Srimad Bhagavatam class.
in reality, a loving, idyllic upbringing as a child, loving parents, wonderful, wonderful conditions. And then the force of time comes and everything's smashed. And then being saved over and over again. Saved by a cow. Saved by a cow. And then somehow or other, meeting by the well wishes of a professor, transferred from Warsaw, recovering from a devastating war, to England, a little green haven. And then somehow or other, a flyer through the letterbox. What a miraculous journey. But the miracles didn't stop there. She never considered herself home and dry. No. Here in the temple, she did such austerities on the street, not even knowing the language properly. As we learned from her school, why was it difficult? Because she reading and writing, mathematics, so many things. She was struggling. But she never stopped her struggle. And it's very sobering and very touching to hear so many aspects of her life which I wasn't aware of. It was very heartening I'm not here at the manor very much, but when I came and Mother Kulangana saw me, she said, "Oh, Sakshi Gopal Prabhu, so nice to see you." And it was really very touching. Very, very touching. And such a big-hearted devotee. One time I admired her bead bag. It was a little white bead bag. I should have brought it today, a white bead bag, Gorni tie on it. I said, "Mother God, it's a lovely bead bag. Prabhu, you take." No, you take. No. I insist you take the bead bag. So I have the bead bag. Another time, I gave her a little donation. Nothing substantial. So this is for you, I'm thinking. This is for you. "Oh, Prabhu, I would give this to Janananda's family." Straight away. Nothing for herself. And I think that symptomized her life. Nothing for herself. Everything for others. Even her profession was physiotherapy. It was giving. On a level which was very real. She was giving help, assistance and healing and nurturing for people who were physically incapacitated through whatever reason. And then when she took up to a spiritual life, again, that was very real. She was never pretentious. It was cooking, doing the needful, there in the kitchen, doing what she was expert at doing. And my memories of Mother Kulangana, I realise from what Kupama was saying, she was in Berry Place the same year I came to Berry Place. I came down from Manchester in 1972. And I remember seeing this attractive older lady dancing in the kirtan. She had hair down to it kind of came down like this. An attractive woman. And she would dance, and I remember she did used to sit up, bolt upright. An imposing personality. And not realizing at the time she came from an aristocratic background. An aristocratic person. And the symptoms of aristocrats is they are also caring and compassionate and very disciplined, and she has all the symptoms of someone from a worthy aristocratic family. But that wasn't apparent, but her qualities were always very, how to describe her qualities, all the qualities of a devotee. And then suddenly in Berry Place she wasn't there for about 4, 5, 6 months. And I remember, where was she? No, I'm sure it'll be in her, she was posted somewhere else. And when she came back she would have looked a lot older. She suddenly looked a lot older. What happened? I remember thinking, has she had some trouble? I don't know. But from then on she kept coming, and then moved to the temple. And in Berry Place she was cooking. And as many of us were. In those days you'd multitask. Sometimes she was sweeping the stairs, for example, or going on harinam. All of us. sweeping the stairs, and then you're cleaning out the dustbin room, and you're initiated. You're not as, oh, I don't do that. And then off to the flower market, and then preaching, and then you're cooking in the kitchen, and then you do some deity worship, all around. You learn how to become expert at everything, no specialisation. That might come later, but, and in the kitchen I remember climbing it, because being a cook, cooking the offerings, the Boga offerings, and also sometimes the cooking for the devotees, prasadam, sometimes the feast. Either you be part of a team, sometimes it's just you to do it. So I was always on the lookout for new recipes. And I remember a couple that Kulangana gave me. One was a sweet called, we used to call it pak. Do you remember pak? We were on the pak face. We never see it these days. It's a semolina prep. A bit like halva, but you cook the sugar with the semolina. And then you add water, and it comes like a crispy fudge. A bit like lad. No, it's not semolina, it's lad, it's a chickpea flour. I'm sure some of you know the recipe for pak. But it was a quick and easy thing to do for distributing on the street. We used to distribute sweets on the street. And so she gave me also a recipe for the speciality on the Sunday feast was the cauliflower and potatoes in yogurt. Anyone remember the cauliflowers and potatoes in yogurt? Yeah. Not much spicing, it was a bit of asafoetida, and she said, you dry roast the cumin, dry roast, and you crush. And in those days we used to crush the cumin, or any dry roasted, we'd have a milk bottle and a small pan, and you whack it and you crush it around, No spice grinders, not even a pestle and mortar. You just use what you had. So we crush it up, and that goes in, and goes a bit of salt, and it was very nice, offered to the Lord. She was very enthusiastic to share her, whatever expertise she had. And unfortunately I wasn't privy to many of her insights. She was very deeply, deeply insightful, a real a sage, a very realised soul. But being a realised soul, she didn't flaunt it, she was very humble. The only part of her earlier life she once mentioned to me, she said we were in Warsaw, she said we were starving. She said there was so little food, we used to scrape the plaster off the wall and crush it up and add it to what little flour we had, and we make that into bread. And it was so heavy, you'd sit in your stomach for days on end. She said we were so hungry we were crawling around on the floor, we couldn't walk. So I was impressed, this is someone who's been through a lot of austerities. So austerity was she was no stranger to austerity, but of course in her devotee life she embraced austerities in the service of the Lord, in the service of the devotees. She voluntarily took so many austerities on, and her life was a flower garden. And I was struck by the screensaver which was on the screen before. It's a bee hovering over a flower, and I thought that's Mother Kulangana, always looking for the honey, always looking for the nectar, never looking at the other stuff that goes on, always. So I'd like to thank Mother Kulangana for the little association I have, and I'd like to thank you for the wonderful words you've come forward with, and I hope whatever words have been presented here will end up in Kripa Maya's book. So I look forward to reading that. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki
Vanchakalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhubhyacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Mother Kulangana ki jai. So I first met Mother Kulangana when I came to the UK in 1979 and to join the Sankirtan party, as she mentioned. I was 24 years old and she was about 47 years old. So that immediately struck me because in those days we were all quite young, and 47 was quite old, really old. I never actually met an old devotee like that.
And we were staying in this house in Clapham Common, which was quite austere. And she was living with all these very young, a lot of them were even younger than me, all these ladies together. It was, quite, it could be quite challenging at times. And we would get up at 3 in the morning and drive in the van to Soho Street Temple, Radha Krishna Temple, Radha Londonishwara Nivas, as we called it then. And we would be chanting, on the way we would chant the Shikshaktikam prayers. And she was quite an unusual person, definitely. On the way in, she would be falling asleep because probably, I think even in those days, she rose quite early. So on the way in, she was determined to keep herself awake, reciting the prayers, and she'd be beating herself. Remember, she was beating herself on the back, keeping herself awake. Now, she mentioned something about me there, but I was actually after the scores and the name and fame and the wanted to collect a lot of Lakshmi, but she was purely wanting to please Srila Prabhupada. I mean, she was totally an inspiration to me. At first, I wasn't quite sure because I'd never met someone quite like that, but she was very welcoming to me, and believe me, most of them were very suspicious of me because I was like a Sankirtan devotee coming from North America. She was very welcoming, and she went out every single day with all these young ladies and did the same thing that they did all day long until the evening. And I was so inspired by that because it was really tough. I mean, we had no heating. We had no beds. We slept on the floor. It was always wet in the morning when you woke up from the condensation. It was quite an austere kind of situation, but because she was doing it, I immediately felt inspired that if she can do it, so can I, being on the streets of London all day long. So I just wanted to share just a couple of things because I know there's so many devotees here who have so many experiences and from each perspective. But I just want to say that Sankirtan, I mean, she was such a bold and fearless preacher. She was fearless. She would just go up to everyone. Her language wasn't good, but she would just preach straight Krishna consciousness. And she didn't get the biggest scores, but that didn't deter her. She was out for Srila Prabhupada's mercy. And I actually want to mention that she actually carried on doing Sankirtan, even whilst living here at Bhaktivedanta Manor. Every time, I think even before the marathons, she would go out at least once a week on Sankirtan. And then when there were marathons, which there are every year, 2 marathons, she would always go out. And it was only just in the last, I think, couple of years that she stopped going out on Sankirtan. One morning, and this is just really illustrating what a brilliant mind she was and how determined she was even to hear even in her last few hours. But one morning we were sitting here for Bhagavatam class with Radhanath Swami, and she was sitting in the chair right there where Sundarananda Prabhu was sitting, and she felt, to me it looked like she had fallen into a deep sleep. I mean, she really looked like she was in a deep sleep. And I was a little bit embarrassed for her because she was sitting there looking. And right at the end of the class, Maharaj said, okay, any questions or comments? And she immediately put her hand up. And she came forth with the most relevant and deep question. I mean, it was like right on. But it's amazing. She actually had a brilliant mind. And you could see with all these memories, like, I couldn't even remember what she was talking about there. I mean, about the Sankirtan, but all her memories from her past, but not just that. She engaged with Srila Prabhupada's books all the time. And she could pull out a quote relevant to any situation. All the time, when we went to her, she'd always come up with some relevant quote from Srila Prabhupada's books. So that really stood out for me. Another time, this was just recently, I mean, through the Sankirtan we did, because it was a very tight party, when you're in a challenging situation like that. It's either make it or break it. But I really feel that we had a strong bond, and I would like to, I really had total respect for her, and even though she was my god sister, I actually saw her as my mother, and even though we didn't have a lot of association, because I was always running around doing my service, I felt that the bond was always there because we had shared that sanctum experience. And a couple of years ago, I was here chanting after Mangalarti, and I was deeply troubled about something. And I just wanted to say, she was such an intuitive person. I didn't say anything to her, I was just quietly chanting. But she came up to me, and she seemed to know exactly what I was feeling, what was in my heart. And she kindly encouraged me a lot and gave me if you got a Mangalarti suite, you knew you were in her good favor. And I was just so deeply grateful. I was so amazed. I actually felt it was Srila Prabhupada coming to me through her, because she was so intuitive in actually sensing a devotee's, pain or their moods or whatever. She was very kind to all the children. I think especially a lot of the Polish children. She was really very, very kind to the children, and she was very kind to my children. And I know when my daughter Tulsi got married a few years ago, she was so excited for her, and she wanted to be there. And actually Tulsi went and took her darshan just before she, went off to get married, and Mother Kulangana just looked like a doting mother, like she just was really, more than me. She was just like so excited by it. So I just, I'm so inspired that someone of that age, because we're all getting older, and how she actually served until the time of her death. I mean, she only just a month and a half ago stopped doing active physical service, but she was actually serving in her mind, and not only that, she was serving by showing us how to leave our bodies, just totally wanting to hear and chant. I got to, before I just came back from America, but 2 weeks ago I went to see her, and I got an opportunity to do just a little bit, very little of service, not like these wonderful brahmacharis, but I got to read to her for, maybe 20 minutes, and I didn't know she was listening, but then she piped up and she said, I can't hear, come closer, closer, read more slowly. And I was like, oh my God, she's totally absorbed in this. We were reading Krishna book. So I just, she was very dear to Mother Yamuna. I mean, they totally, it was like when you saw them together, it was like total respect. It was wonderful to see. I wanted to just read briefly, my daughter Janavi wrote something. Is it okay to read it? Would it be okay? I don't. Do you want to read it? Actually, yeah, because I probably won't be able to get through it.
He says, I don't remember a time not knowing Mother Kulangana. My earliest memories of Bhaktivedanta manor, where I played, went to school and worshipped, feature her somewhere in the background. When you're young, everyone seems old. As a child, I must have thought she was an old lady. Even when I was very young, she was already in her late 50s, and with a simple, unchanging white sari. Some featured more embroidery than others, I noted. She appeared eternally old. At the same time as I grew, I struggled to tell what age she was, because her demeanor, grave yet sprightly and youthful all at once, seemed to remain the same. Much of my association with her was through observation. I don't recall speaking to her much, but she must have seen me from when I was born, and observed me a great deal over the years too. I most often saw her in the morning, sometime before school. Sometimes she would be entering or exiting the deity kitchen, a place that seemed entirely magical to me. Passing by the door, you could always smell the warm, nutty aroma of heated ghee, spices and creamy milk being boiled and processed through various stages to make milk sweets. I knew all this from smell and from seeing the outcome, but I had never glimpsed inside. At least one morning a week, the Gurukula children were entitled to all the Mangalati sweets. We awaited this day with great anticipation. Our breakfast supervisor, Mother Moksha Lakshmi, would cut the sweets in halves or quarters and place them into our grasp. Thick caramel fudge burfi, stamped with flower designs and with a hint of cardamom. Sandesh, soft and creamy, flecked with orange rind. Juicy, fresh curd rasgullas that squeaked obediently when bitten. And a Mother Kulangana original, the Gokula sweet, a thick slab of melt-in-your-mouth carrot cocoa butter delight. We knew Mother Kulangana was responsible for all of these, which of course made her seem all the more magical. I would swear in later years I could also tell the difference between her sweets and when they were cooked by others. Hers were never too sweet. The consistency was always perfect, and the ratio of ingredients artfully balanced. Over the years I felt shy of her and rarely spoke to her, yet she would often approach me and with effusive words offer some sort of blessing or encouragement. Once after Bhaktivedanta class, she approached me with great enthusiasm to say that just like Devahuti, I should also be blessed with a husband like Kardama Muni, who would fly me around on a cloud palace. She made it sound so transcendental. I never thought much about her former life, although once when I was young she approached me and started speaking in Polish. It was a minute or two before she realized her mistake, and it triggered a realization for me that she was actually from somewhere else and must have had a whole life before being part of the landscape of Bhaktivedanta manor. It's only in the last few months that I actually heard her life story and marveled at the difficulties she underwent, both before becoming a devotee and even after. I wanted to learn how to make sweets from her for many years, but I was too shy to ask, and also fully aware that I had no qualification to enter the deity kitchen. One time though, she and Gadadhar Prabhu asked me to paint the milk sweets. I felt like I was being shown the door to the spiritual world. She met me in the deity kitchen and showed me how to do the full Achman, and said with great emphasis that the Om Apavitro Pavitro Va prayer was most important, making me repeat it line by line until she was satisfied. Painting the sweets was much harder than painting on paper, and I wasn't impressed with the results, but she encouraged and praised me so much I felt my service had been accepted by the Lord himself. She did not hesitate to correct something if it was out of order. Once I was helping to decorate the cakes for Radhastami, and I had planned a butterfly cake theme. I was all set and already cutting out the butterfly shapes out of sugar paste when she entered to see how things were going. She immediately zoned in on what I was doing and reminded me that we could not put any living creature on something to be offered for the Lord to eat. I remember feeling quite disgruntled and annoyed. I really liked my idea, and she just squashed it completely. But I was humbled and turned them into flowers, learning an important lesson about paying attention to the details and following in the footsteps of Seva Gurus. I will miss her vibrant and exalted presence here so much. It is hard to contemplate what Bhaktivedanta manor is without her. I will miss her dancing in kirtan, still going, even in her later years. I will miss the way she looked at Radha Gokulananda with gravity and deep love. I will miss her questions at the end of Bhagavatam class, when, often after seemingly sleeping through at least half of it, she would stand up and ask a very pointed and clear question that was right on topic. I will miss her voice with her distinctive Polish accent and deliberate, slow pace. I will sorely miss her example of a life of dedicated devotion and the love, care and instruction she gave to all of us here. One day I helped her carry some milk to the kitchen, and she said that her only misfortune was having a material body, and that she never ever wanted to come back. to this miserable place. I know she will not have to, but pray that she will continue to bless us all to cultivate the same depth of service and unwavering dedication.
Mother Kulangana ki jai.
Hare Krishna. I first met Mother Kulangana in the 70s when we were serving together in the very place, and she was always renowned as a great cook. In those days it was not only marmalade sweets, which she actually perfected later, but she would cook breakfast for the devotees. And every day she would make a porridge, but every day it would be different. She would put different things in it, and different grains, different nuts, different fruits, always some variety. And she had that so much devotion, and she would cook also for the deities, for Radha Nandanishwara. And her cooking always tasted like nectar, the Mahaprasad. And she would not only cook, but she would also go out every day on the streets, like as Guru was saying. She was so dedicated and hardworking. And so I'll jump forward to more recent years, going back about 12 years ago. We started going out together for swimming. I used to take her to the swimming pool, and then I told her about this Ayurvedic clinic that I'd been to in South India, and she was very interested to go there because she needed some help. By that time her body was, because of the scoliosis and the curved spine, she was suffering pain. She was working so hard, pushing herself so hard, and she was suffering pain. So we went together to the hospital in Kottaka for some Ayurvedic massage treatment, and she got a great relief from that. And it really, really helped her. So after that, we would go together every year for a few years. She enjoyed just being together with the God Sister, because she was surrounded by so many devotees who were always serving her in great awe. So she liked to sometimes just be more relaxed and be together as God Sisters. So it was very nice. And but then eventually she realized that she needed, as her health deteriorated, that she needed more service and help, and so she would start to take other girls with her for the Ayurvedic treatment. But at that time, when we spent time there, I remember she told me quite a lot. I think it's been already talked about, some of the history of the suffering that she went through in Poland during the war. And even though it was a relaxed time, her sadhana was still always impeccable. Like a machine, she would be up every day around 1 o'clock to chant her rounds. And this was a practice that she carried on throughout for so many years. She would chant her rounds very slowly and with great concentration, with great focus. It would take her quite a long time to chant her rounds, but she would always like to chant all her rounds in the morning, and that's why she would always get up very early, because for her, her chanting was the priority. It was the most important activity of the day. And this chanting, the way she was taking shelter of the holy name, made her very Krishna conscious, so that she was always carrying Krishna in her heart, because she was always very kind and merciful to all devotees, as so many of you have experienced, have been touched by her kindness and her compassion and her caring nature. For everyone is so very personal. And it's like when she would talk to you, I remember every time she would speak to me and ask, how are you, and how are your sons, and always asking about my sons. And at that time it would feel like she made you feel like you were the most important person in the world, or your sons were the most important people to her. But actually she was doing that with everyone, and everyone felt that. And that's how Krishna is in his love for the devotees. And she was very faithful to Srila Prabhupada, and so fixed and so strong and so disciplined, a real warrior, a real soldier, and at the same time with such a soft heart. So Kulangana will always be a great inspiration. I will miss her very much, and she will continue to be my inspiration forever. Mother Kulangana ki jai.
Thank you, Shruti Dharma Prabhu, Kripamoya, Radhakanta, and all of you, to give me a chance to say something about the special mother. Indeed, she loves everyone, and everyone loved her. There's one verse of the Bhagavad Gita that I can select, spoken by Lord Krishna, which depict, highlight actually this personality of Mother Kulangana. Yoga Yukta Vishuddhatma Vijidatma Jitendriya Sarva Bhutatma Kurvanapi Nalipyate. Krishna says to Arjuna, one who acts always with the devotion, the master of the mind and the senses, is very dear to everyone, and everyone is very dear to him or to her. That is Mother Kulangana. She had no enemy, like Radhakanta Prabhu said. She was born as a virgin flower, very religious. She used to love to, she would come and asking me to talk to her about Jesus, because I was brought up in a Catholic monastery, and she was also from a strong Catholic background, and she just about, before she became a devotee, she wanted to become a nun, she told me. And so we shouldn't think that heroes, they only exist in the Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita, on the Mahabharata, Ramayana. People, they search for the heroes in those books. But heroes, they are also amongst us. They walk with us. They live with us. And Mother Kulangana, it's a hero for many of us. I had the good fortune to always be blessed by her. Many times, I want to reveal a secret today. I won a marathon 2006 and 2007, and devotees, they were always asking me, what is the secret? And I would say, just depend on, surrender to Krishna, pray to the Guru. But actually the secret, Radhakanta Prabhu knows. Every day before I would go out, I would always go and seek the blessings of Mother Kulangana. she would bless me to have a good day on Sankirtan. But it was not just a good day, but it was an explosion day. I've always treasured her blessings. And not only that, she said many times to me, you should always sing for Krishna and distribute books, like your Guru Maharaj told you to do. And you will go back home back to Godhead. On her last birthday, she requested Radhakanda Prabhu to ask me to come and sing for her birthday. So I felt privileged to do a little service for her. I was thinking for 30 seconds to just sing my last words for her glorification. This is a song that I composed a few years ago, and Mother Kulangana, she read it and she blessed it. And it was Mother Kulangana and Jadwita Swami, they read the song and they gave me the go-ahead. It was in glorification to Prabhupada. But I hope it's not a sacrilege now, because the song was actually dedicated to Prabhupada, but I'm dovetailing some lyrics to say goodbye to Mother Kulangana and in her glorification. Is that okay? 30 seconds? Shruti? I can feel my soul touched by someone. I feel good in my heart, and I wonder why. I start to remember someone who came in my life, my mother. She gave me her love, the light in her eyes shining like stars in the sky. My mother, she gave me her love. What a beautiful heart, what a beautiful mind. The story of her life, an amazing one. Like a fresh new spring that comes around, fragrance of her soul she left behind. Oh, mother, oh, mother. Hare Krishna, Mother Kulangana.
Hare Krishna. I came to Manor exactly 1 year ago. It was 19th of August 2016, and I remember that Jagat Priya Mataji, she brought me to the ashram, and I sat in the prasadam room, and then Mother Kulangana came in, and she was eating her sabji. And actually, before I came, I was in Croatia. I joined the movement there, and I was very fortunate to meet advanced devotees who told me that it would be very good for me to go to Bhaktivedanta manor. And the lady who was giving me advice, she said, you know, there lives one senior Mataji who is from Poland, as I am, and she said, and she's famous for her sweets. And then I said, then I must go there. I felt very, very encouraged to go. And as I was already here, I had a strong desire to serve Mother Kulangana.
And my first service, I remember Mother Kulangana, she used to get some fruit from Parashuram Prabhu, and then she used it for cooking, and then she would use the boxes for distributing Mangalarati sweets. So one time I was given an opportunity to wash the containers, and I was so happy that I could do some service for her. And then later on I was given opportunity to bring her maha milk in the morning. And before that, Nirantara Bhakti Mataji, she was here, and she was rendering service for Mother Kulangana. And when she was leaving to India, she told me that I can do this service for Mother Kulangana. So I felt very happy. I was able to bring milk for Mother Kulangana. And later on, I was given another service. I was given an opportunity to make tea for her and her bed in the evening. And that was the time when our relationship started to develop, because every time I would come there and bring her tea and make her bed, she would read to me. She would read to me mostly Srila Prabhupada's lectures, his lectures on Bhagavad Gita. And she would also read to me Chaitanya Charitamrita in Polish, and then she would comment, she would discuss with me, and then she, as she was getting weaker and weaker, I was given more and more service opportunity for her, and finally one day she said that actually she needs help, and Radhakanta Prabhu was there and me, and she said that actually she would be happy if I could serve her personally. So that was Krishna's mercy upon me, even though I never deserved it, but Krishna was so merciful, and she was always so merciful that she gave me opportunity to serve her. And I wanted to express my big gratitude to everyone who was helping in serving Mother Kulangana, especially Radhakanta Prabhu, who would organize the service, everything which we needed to serve Mother Kulangana without delay, without failure, and temple authority for allowing me to do this service and for facilitating everything. Srinadapi Prabhu and Shruti Dharma Prabhu, and also Jagat Priya Mataji, thank you for helping us to surrender to organize the ashram in the way which was most convenient for Mother Kulangana. And the ashram became, at the time when we were serving Mother Kulangana, at one point there were, I think, more Prabhus in the ashram than the ladies residing inside. But everything was for Mother Kulangana, and all the wonderful devotees who were helping in serving Mother Kulangana, all the ladies who were each of them like a mother for Mother Kulangana, and giving so much love and affection, and just Kalindi, Kalakanti Radhika, and Guru Shakti, and Vishnu Priya, and Kandarika, and so many devotees who were serving Mother Kulangana. All of you, thank you so much. And of course, Dr. Steve, thank you very much. Thank you. And most of all, I wanted to thank Mother Kulangana for giving me opportunity, for allowing me to serve her. And I'm forever grateful to Srila Prabhupada that he gave me this opportunity to be here and to serve Mother Kulangana.
One quality of Mother Kulangana that I would like to speak about is that even though she's a greatly advanced devotee, she was extremely simple and carried out her devotional service as though she is a Krystyna Adhikari. Following Srila Prabhupada's instructions, the main simple things she was always repeating, and like he said, to do a sandwich program, morning program and evening program. Many devotees may not know this, but every evening Mother Kulangana was listening to Bhagavad Gita class from her room and appreciating it very much. And I have compiled a small list of different things that she said that I remember, or that I think she said quite often. So, first is chanting 16 rounds, 4 religious principles, reading my books, meaning Srila Prabhupada's books, get up before 4 o'clock, and guaranteed you will go back to Godhead. Don't criticize another people. Chant Hare Krishna and be quiet. She was always repeating about, speaking about birth, death, disease, and old age, how this material world is so horrible, but the spiritual world is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. She was saying that Srila Prabhupada said, no past, present, or future, only now. And you should go to a place where you was happy. And the next two, Shruti Ramaprabhu mentioned the other day, that she says a lot, but actually she told me that she heard them from him. If you're not grateful, then you're a great fool. And if you remember the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, then whatever is very difficult will become very easy. And if you forget them, then whatever is very easy will become very difficult. Sometimes she would say that if you go to the morning program and you chant your rounds, if you make sure you do these 2 things, you can sleep for the whole day, but you should do these 2 things. She was saying to take milk, not water. Don't look at the bad things in a situation. You should always take the good things. And she also said, Srila Prabhupada said, never relax. This is definitely a quality she had. She was always serving. And Srila Prabhupada said, if you're not disciplined, then you're not my disciple. She also said that Srila Prabhupada said, you should go to Mangalati even if you have to go on your stomach. And she was always encouraging me that Srila Prabhupada said everybody has an extraordinary talent. So it's just a matter of time for every individual to discover what that is to serve Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I would like to share with you the last moment. I would like to share with you the last moment of Mother Kulangana with us. Mother Kulangana did not want to be a burden on anyone. As much as possible, she was always doing everything on her own. But out of love, her devotees was helping her to get revenge, like cleaning her room. But every little thing we would do for her, she was always very, very grateful. She always had something to give us, like a gift, with sweet, with fruit, every time. I just, show her gratitude. Only I can meet you. For the first time, she personally asked Mother Kulangana very much. In July, she went to the hospital for a few days. After 2 weeks from the hospital, she could not get up from the bed. And she needed help. So actually, for 19 days she was at the bed. For the first 10 days, she was still interactive, active with us. And it was very painful for the first week. In the middle of the night, she would get very sick. And we even had to call garlands for in the middle of the night. And try to contact what's going on. But the little sleep she had the first week, she was making a sweet in her sleep. And for the first day I could not recognize what she was doing. And secondly, me and Kamil were doing a night shift. So she was separating the dough to make the sundaes in her sleep. And she was saying I have to make this sweet. And she was asking for a pot. So that was really amazing to see this. I'm really very grateful to have the opportunities to serve her and her husband. I'm really grateful to the authority for the privilege to serve her. So, any of after 10 days when she started getting more weaker and she couldn't open her eyes more, and this is when she never wanted to have chemical medicine, and then that's the first time she said do whatever needed just to help me to get rid of this pain. And this is when it was 3 o'clock in the morning, the nurse came and gave her everything. The next day she ran from me, I was talking to her, and then she said, "Sorry Maharaj, I'm taking this medicine." And Maharaj said, it is better to be Krishna conscious than to be pain conscious. And then, the person is like Mother Kulangana, by kindness, from the bottom of my heart, her encouragement, her inspiration, her protection. We miss her, but we are happy for her now that she joined once again. She was Friday with leaders. I'm very grateful that by her mercy that I'm here, but when I wanted to leave the ashram, she never let me go. She said, "Don't seek to go one step out of the ashram. You have to stay at the manor." Thank you very much.
Let's put our hands together for the 3 ladies. We continue with the team that was caring for her, Karnaras and Sundaranand. If you just quickly make your way.
Mother, I was born in and brought up in India, and I saw the sainthood of Mother Teresa. So when I first saw the mother, I said, "Wow, look at this, this is Mother Teresa." But then I realized there was a difference. The difference was this modern day saint had devotion and complete devotion to Prabhupada and to Lord Krishna, which no other modern day saint had. So we will remember Mother as this modern day saint, and I don't think you will ever see, at least I will not see in my lifetime, another saint like this. She was the epitome of Krishna consciousness. That you heard how she was in her last few days, completely absorbed in chanting, wanted to just hear Prabhupada's chanting. I'm going to share some very few memories which are very personal to me, and I think you can appreciate how she was. So every time I would walk into the hall, to the temple, she would ask, "Prabhu, how many operations did you do today?" And I would say, Mother, sometimes I would say 6, sometimes I would say 4. 6, Prabhu, 6 operations, Krishna. And every week we'll have the same conversation, she'll show the same amusement with the same enthusiasm every single time. That's our Mother Kulangana. Then she'll walk into my consulting rooms and Radhakan Prabhu will bring her into the consulting room. She would not care the door was open or closed, and straight bang, full Dandvat on the floor. And I was very embarrassed because nurses would see an 80-year-old plus woman walking into the door and suddenly collapsing. So they'll be like, fire bells ringing, but she wouldn't care. So I immediately would close the door and then pray my Dandvat. My mother would do all that. There was a receptionist who was very fascinated by seeing this saintly woman coming, so she wanted to meet Mother. So she came and saw me in the consulting room. And Mother said, "Do you chant?" That was the first question. She said, "No, you are wasting your life." And this girl started crying, and she was all in reverence, not crying just because she was feeling bad, but she was just the purity of Mother. And that's how Mother Kulangana was. And she'll say to me, "Prabhu, you saved my life." And just to inspire me, what did I do? I asked her to drink 2 liters of water every day and 1 pill a day. And then she'll say, "Oh, you saved my life. What a good thing." But she was very stubborn. Our mother was very stubborn. She was stubborn in Krishna consciousness, but she was stubborn otherwise also. And I'm sure people have seen that. So you must have seen the video of Chibram Swami talking to her, and when he was reading about Krishna and Radha. So Maharaj said, "Kulangana, Krishna and Radha." So she said, "No, I am focusing on Lord Chaitanya." "Kulangana, Radha and Krishna." "No, Lord Chaitanya." That's how stubborn she was, and she was focused all the time in Lord Chaitanya's lotus feet. Amazing mother. So I used to tease her. I used to make her do more physical stuff because I really wanted her to get out of bed. So about 2.5 weeks ago, I said to Mother, "Mother, you know what? I have not done my japa today fully. Let's go for a walk." She said, "No." I said, "Mother, let's go." "No." I said, "Why no?" She said, "Because I'm feeling weak." "It's impossible, Prabhu." I said, "Mother, did Prabhupada say that impossible word existed in the dictionary?" She said, "No." "Then let's go." So we went. I took her on the wheelchair. She went to take darshan of Tulsi Maharani, and she came to the temple room. Unfortunately, the curtains were closed. And that was the last time she came out of her room till Sunday when she really left us. So, of course, Radha Gokulanand came after that every day to see her. So, it's been very hard to be a doctor for 6 weeks. I had pent up all the emotion of a son, and she loved me. So, after her leaving this material body, the tears just flooded out because then my doctor portion that hat was off and my devotee hat was on. So obviously, I'm sure you must have seen me crying in the morning program we had for her. And then I went home for an hour before the Janmastami service, and I was performing my arati. Normally I don't close my eyes in the arati, and I'll just share this with you in public now. I just closed for some reason my eyes got closed for 20 seconds, and what a scene I saw. I saw Mother Kulangana, all dressed in white in green pastures. There was not a single bark of a tree to see, but she was not wearing her specs. Now I'm looking for her specs, because if you see her, you identify her with her specs. That's how you see a person, and she was not wearing specs. And then I realized, of course, where she is, she doesn't need the specs. She's got the spiritual vision which she always had. Mother Kulangana ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Vansha Katrubhyascha, Parasintu Kadevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. I feel really unqualified to say anything amongst all of you, especially for a devotee like Mother Kulangana. Her presence enriched my spiritual existence, as I would say. I used to see her every day. But her absence is giving me a deeper reflection, a deeper appreciation of my Krishna consciousness in this lifetime. And I really thank everyone to allow me to say something over here, because this has given me an opportunity to actually reflect upon Over the last 7-8 years I've been interacting with her. It all started with from my side, I would say, as a very mundane relationship of a doctor and a patient. I used to come around, see her, lunchtime break, ask about her blood pressure, health, pills, diet, sleep. But when I was reflecting, actually, over the last 7-8 years, she was actually nourishing me spiritually. She was looking after me. She was concerned about my health. She used to save some of the sabji which she used to make. She used to call it Radhakanta sabji. Radhakanta Prabhu used to buy all the vegetables. And she used to ring me around 12:30 every day. Prabhu, what time are you coming? I said, Mother, I'll be there at 1:10. She'd be there, opening the door, not even serve the sabji from the pot, waiting for me, and then quickly I ran into the kitchen, bring this hot sabji. I said, Prabhu, you wait here, let me get the book. Let me get Srimad Bhagavatam and I'll read to you and you eat. Right in front of the ashram, on the table, wooden table, she used to read me Srimad Bhagavatam. I was mindful of the time to go back to the clinic, and she kept on reading. This was the story every day, practically. The day I missed, she used to say, Prabhu, I feel so much worried for you. You haven't eaten, you haven't heard. She used to ask me, how's your japa? Especially on the days I didn't finish my japas. I don't know how she came to know. I actually came to see her for her health, but I realized she was actually looking after me. And I miss this sorely. I haven't been to that place since she left. I made a little list of things which she used to say to me very often. She said to me, you have to be personal in your dealings all the time. Because Krishna consciousness is about personal dealings. She used to say, Prabhu, in this material life, especially in Grihastha ashram, 3 things you must remember. Tolerate, tolerate, tolerate. She was always encouraging, and was very grateful, all the time. It was just a little thing I would do and she'd just make out of, oh Prabhu, I'm so grateful to you, I'm so grateful to you. It made me feel ashamed actually, I'm not doing anything and she's just being so humble. She was actually teaching me how to behave. She often used to say, birth, death, disease and old age are the miseries of the life. If you practice them, if you practice Krishna consciousness seriously, you will overcome them very easily. A few weeks before her departure, she called me around 2:30 in the morning. Prabhu, I need to see you now. I said, can it wait? No, I need you now. I went up to see her. She said, Prabhu, this pain, I realize, is not anything simple. This tumor I think is killing me. And I've seen so many of my god brothers and god sisters passing away in their end of the life, and they were on morphine. So I would like to have some morphine, but I want to keep my consciousness very clear. I don't want this pain, because I want to focus on Lord Chaitanya. 3 days later, she was pain-free, nausea-free. And I asked her, are you comfortable, Mother? She said, yes, there is no pain, there is no nausea, but I feel it will be very difficult to leave my body now. And I was thinking, what does she want? She's trying to focus on Krishna. Pain was disrupting her. Now there is no pain. Now she's closing her eyes. I asked her, Mother, are you in pain? No, I'm trying to focus on Lord Chaitanya's feet. Other times she said, I'm trying to go back to Godhead. It made me laugh. I said, this is her consciousness. I mean, I've been practicing medicine for 20 years, looked after palliative care patients, and their worries and miseries and pain, and their attachments, their family, their possessions. But all I was seeing her just remembering was chanting the holy name. Nothing else, just chanting the holy name. And this has really, really realized me that, how transcendental was she. I just treated her like as my mother. She was the one who taught me so many lessons every day. I just seek Mother Kulangana's blessings that her presence in the form of instructions, what she said to me, may remain manifest in my heart. Hare Krishna.